What kind of cat do you have, Teal dear?
Oh, she's a cat.
Oh, that kind of a cat.
Yeah.
The stream has begun, although no
Oh,
one
okay.
appears to be watching. Welcome to the Rantzerker 105 after show. I labeled it the Feminist Water Lily Continued, but I don't know if we're going to talk about that or something else.
Uh, well, let's take a look. I mean,
Well,
we only got.
someone joked about, someone in the chat said we should look at the references because they could be hilarious.
Sure, like little. I see a subheading gender neutrality.
Hmm.
And yet, at the end, she was definitely not gender neutral. She definitely indicated that the water lily, or they, Prudence and Monica, definitely indicated the water lily
Because it
need
took
no
two
man.
people to write this peer-reviewed paper that likely got them a doctorate. Just gonna
Or
put that
contributed to
through.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I. Oh God. So she has this gender neutrality, but she removed the gender neutrality, and it's not gender neutral. It's a hermaphrodite. It's both male and female, but she removed the male and just left it as female.
Well, you want to see what it actually says?
Okay, plants function without organs, without a brain, yet they survive aggressive attacks, extreme weather conditions, and food shortages. These surely are attributes of an organism to pay more attention to learn from. Plants have been associated with many gender-specific and pre-feminist narratives. Women have been associated with the blooming of flowers, the blossoming of buds. So have men, by the way. The genitalia of flowers is being female with the male stamen rising up out of it. Wouldn't that be hermaphroditic? When
Yes.
theorist Michael Ceres writes, she in her garden admits the mute flora, is referring to Eve in the original garden where her toes grow longer in the viscous humus. Humus?
Humus.
Humus.
Humus. And she is a garland climbing around the great tree. And Sarah is writing, Eve is developed like a plant, entwining and braiding around the limbs of the tree of knowledge. This kind of phytomorphic association where the original sinner Eve is identified as an ivy plant and therefore as a cannibal when she eats the apple from the tree is exacerbated by other associations of nature as women and therefore as other, such as the concept of Mother Nature or
What?
Terra Mater, which we are hope here to avoid. Well, if you wanted to avoid associating nature with female, why for the love of God did you say this?
Well, why did you ignore
What?
all of the times when nature has been perceived and shown as male?
But even in this particular situation, she says the water lily need no man. That she completely removed the masculine from the water lily in order to say that. The water lily floats across the fluidly female surface and reproduces asexually with the help of insect. No, hermaphroditically, doesn't it? Isn't that separate from asexually?
Yes.
The help of insects carrying its seed from the anther to the stamen. The anther is the male parts, the masculine parts of the water lily. The water lily then relies on no male counterpart because it is itself its own male counterpart. So she just removes the male from this symbol of nature that she has created or that she has proposed. And then she says, oh, we see nature as female, and that's bad. Well, you just did it. Ugh! And you're right, Teal dear, like you were mentioning before, the green man.
Yeah, I've actually just scanned the vegetation deity page because Wikipedia is the font of all knowledge. There's loads of stuff about male gods. It's like there's one, yeah, like there's the one about Osiris and his body being cut up, and he's the thing of regrowth. There's a Mesopotamian one where some woman gets taken basically to hell, and her husband goes and gets her. He stays there for half a year, which is presumably when winter is, when vegetation dies off, and his return brings regrowth, which is the spring.
That's the inverse of the Persephone myth.
Yeah, basically. Even like the parable of Jesus, the parable of the sower soweth the word, where the seed is the word of God, and God is basically always male in Christianity. The mustard seed and the growing seed explain the kingdom of God, where growth is due to God and not man. Resurrection of Jesus is compared to a kernel that falls in the ground and dies, but then produces many seeds. Again, seeds, growth related to a man, Jesus.
Yeah, there's
The Corn King is thought of as one of the most ancestral of religious images. The idea of this male figure who dies with the grain crop and rises again when it grows again in the spring.
Yeah, so it's male and female. It's all ultimately been tied to stories surrounding the seasons. So it's this idea that nature is female. No, it's false. And as I mentioned before we got on to this after show, they've removed the sort of elemental aspects as well, where even in some religions, like the ground being fertile will be seen as female, but the rains and water and things like that could be seen as male because it hits it and fertilizes it, like sperm hitting an egg. So it's a lot of ignorance of anthropology, frankly, which I find, well, not that surprising, but in some ways quite interesting, because feminists always like to try to think that anthropology explains away everything and can disprove evolution and things like that. And it's like, well, you've totally ignored the entire discipline for the sake of basically just saying that a hermaphroditic plant is actually female and therefore women have it worse.
Because
okay.
plant.
Because plant. Well, no, because misogyny, vegetogeny.
Vegetarianism. Fuck them.
Vegetarian. Yeah.
They did everything wrong.
Yes, they did. That was my point.
They want to kill our people, or her people.
Vegetarians and vegans are in fact evil.
Okay, I'm going to continue.
They shoot up
gender
YouTube.
Neutrality. The gender neutrality. This desire to eschew specific gender preoccupations, for instance, considering the water lily as a sexualized female deity, provokes a context. What the? Oh, my computer's not being good to me today. Wait, let's see. Come on. I seem to have lost my ability to scroll for no apparent reason. Yeah, it's just like I've decided not to work now.
Where are you? And I could take up from where you left off, or Teal Deer could.
Oh, okay. So it did finally scroll.
You got to.
Oh, okay.
Which page
I'm in gender neutrality, page 13. Insofar, or male and female is probably more appropriate. It's both male and female. She just sort of just ignores.
Yeah, it reproduces via the joining of gametes, which goes from one to the other. So there's a lot of genetic shuffling. Like it seems like one plant can be self-contained in that instance, but obviously the ability to genetically shuffle from individual to individual gives a lot of like genetic benefits when it comes to a fitness perspective. So
there you go.
Yeah, it's just please stop ignoring this, please, authors, stop.
Yes,
but the thing is, one of them is apparently an evolutionary ecologist, so she should know all of this.
It's not convenient. It's not politically convenient. I mean, suddenly at the end, the hermaphrodite plant becomes a female who doesn't need no man. You know, a single mother who don't need no man.
Let's go cut the anthers out of all of the...
yeah, see how well they do.
All of them, yeah. Let's see how long they last.
Okay, so do you want to take over with the second paragraph in gender neutrality, Brian?
Yeah, sure. Okay. This desire to eschew specified gender preoccupations, for instance, considering the water lily as sexualized female deity, provokes a context within nature and culture that requires a becoming other. Can we follow the true spirit of vegetal life, its self-reproduction and interspecies reproductive assistance, beetles, moths, and bees, and disrupt the notion of Earth as reductively female? Can we reclaim nature and plant life as a queering place where gender is as irrelevant as the human? Claire Colebrook engages with queer theory as it relates to logics of survival. This survivalist theorizing is important when discussing the specific qualities of vegetal life to grow, decay, revive, and become. She writes against a generative model of life and instead discusses whether queer theory reflects on being queer or suggests that the changing nature of being queer affects the way we theorize. We would like to extend this point to posit that the emergent possibilities of plant life and their hidden skill sets affect the way we theorize on nature. Colebrook's queer vitalism proposes that what life ought to be must emerge from what life is. The authors of this paper believe the study of what plants are then informs how we, as a society and community, ought to be. The self as it is formed in the the self as it is formed in the social unit of the family, with the self taking on either male or female norms, fail to account for the emergence of the self and the genesis of the family. In contrast, Colebrook maintains that passive vitalism is queer in its difference and distance from constituted images of life as fruitful and generative and humanly organized. Colebrook believes this passive vitalism has implications for aesthetics in terms of the creation of monuments rather than work. The body emerges and is formed through encounters with the sensual.
What?
Plants are also gay.
Well, what? I know. Furthermore,
hang on. How nature is and how nature ought to be. I thought feminists hated the idea of doing things as nature indicates that it should be done. Like, I thought they were the big sort of, appeal to nature fallacy. You can't say that just because something evolved like that, that's how it's supposed to work. And yet here they're like, no, if the things how they are like that indicates how things ought to be. But in that case, humans should live in family units. But feminists don't like that. So what? Like, I mean, if these people are advocating for, taking cues from nature and going with that, then hey, actually, that's a feminist point that I would then agree with. But they're totally going against like 90% of all of the other feminists that I've ever seen.
all I can say is this seems to be like a vulnerable or a victimhood mining operation, and they're going after the water lilies now and the plants. But at least the water lilies and the plants don't have any kind of cognition that can be fucked up by learning this shit. They're just going to continue to float and choke off other life and be incredibly ruthless. The way that most animals and plants are. So they're, the feminist framework that they're trying to apply to them is not really going to have any impact. It's only going to have an impact on us. Oh well, okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm broken.
It's pretty broken. And the other thing is that she's not being consistent, because when you remove the male hermaphroditic part from the water lily, you get rid of the genderqueer aspects, or what she considers to be the genderqueer aspects, and you return it to like this kind of, using their own terminology, cis-normative understanding of the water lily as an expression of the female earth mother, or female relationship to plant. So she does, at the end, her conclusion, or these women's conclusion to all of this, is to do exactly what this particular paragraph decries society doing, which is gender typing, or creating this gender stereotype that the female is the vegetative, the earth mother, and that the female is represented in nature, or nature is female. She does exactly that by removing the queerness of the freaking water lily. So what is it that what is it that these women are attempting to achieve? They seem to achieve something or assert something and then assert the opposite. Like, could they at least be internally consistent with their own narrative? Like, I mean, I disagree with the narrative entirely, but could you not at least not break my suspension of disbelief while you're weaving it by directly contradicting it?
Well, you're
by
not
saying
new to this,
things?
so you know how this works.
Is that too much to ask? It's too much to ask for. Is
Mm.
not being fickle with your narrative too much to ask for? But no, women are not fickle.
No, consistency is a tool of patriarchy, so can't have
But
that.
also women are immobile and consistent and static, like plants. And immobility means static. Immobility means not changing at all, ever. Doesn't just mean not being able to move from a particular spot. I'm going to look up immobility.
You know, if a water lily was hit with radioactive waves and grew to a giant water lily monster and charged a city and destroyed it, these people would write a paper talking about how it's finally been freed from its patriarchal bonds. And it's acting in the world as it should.
Its immobility, not only is immobility something forced on it by the patriarchy also doesn't respect the fact that it's immobile.
Mm-hmm.
That its essential nature is immobile. It doesn't respect the essential immobile nature of the plant. Okay, the state of not moving, motionless. Inability to move or be moved. Oh, okay. So there's even a little bit of agency to immobility in that things that cannot be moved. Some things that will refuse to be moved are immobile. So there you go. God damn.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they don't move, though. It's like something can refuse to move and you can still move it. So it's like, yeah, it just means that it's something which is currently occupying a space.
A particular space that it isn't moving from.
Yeah.
Period.
It is not engaged in the act of kinetics.
Yeah. Doesn't mean
that's
that it's
all
not
it
changing.
is.
It doesn't mean it's not changing. It doesn't mean that it's not evolving or doing things. It's just not currently moving.
Yeah, it's like if you're sitting typing on a computer, you are immobile in a certain... It's basically like, where do you want to define immobility? It's like your hands are moving, but your body isn't. Are you immobile? Well, yes, from a certain perspective, but no from another perspective. Like, how many units of distance does something have to be able to shift to be considered truly immobile? Like, I mean, this is when we go deep into just nonsense philosophy land and say, is anything truly immobile? Well, no, because particles are forever vibrating, so nothing can ever be immobile.
The earth is rotating, so we're all moving.
Yeah, but it's just a matter of, like, you could say, oh, immobility is a matter of perception. It's, from a certain perspective, yes, but that's not a helpful way to define it.
Rambam 3000 says, Brian, you've been reading too many comics, bruh. I'm just trying to make this more interesting. A water lily attacking a city sounds more interesting than what we're reading. And more factual.
Well, a water lilies attacked Mexico. There you go. Yeah. Maybe Trump should have
built a wall around the water lilies.
Or just built a wall out of water lilies.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's what Trump needs to do, is actually build a moat.
A moat and put water. Yeah, there you go.
Across it.
Let's propose it. Let's tweet it at him. Build a moat. Fill it with water lilies.
I mean, surely it would be cheaper than building a wall, because
you're
just digging.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then you get a kind of wall because you have the bank on the other side. So you basically turn America into a giant Motte and Bailey castle. Sort of thing.
It would be really cool just to have it like a castle. You put alligators in the moat.
Yeah, great.
It'd be great to have alligators in the moat. I mean, that's what I would do.
Maybe.
Yeah, now it says reconnection successful, so OBS is back online. And now it's running. Okay, so we're back. The stream is back, but I don't know what that was. That was just, it's crazy. It was not my internet connection though, for sure. And all my devices are hooked up because I was surfing other websites, and I just checked it, and it was fine. So God only knows.
Were you downloading something from those websites that might have taken up some of the bandwidth?
No. All I did was I just checked. I refreshed a Facebook page and a Twitter page to see if it was gonna open back up, and it did. So anyway, we're back online.
We were having a rough day, folks. Really rough day.
This was this was just weird, but I think this was the only issue, right? It wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, we just lost a section, but I guess it'll just append it to the previous section. And all that happened is we ended up just going a little bit further in. We can redo it because we didn't get that far. No. We're on the third paragraph under gender neutrality.
All right, so let me go back to the feminist plant. Third paragraph of gender neutrality starts with the most exceptional example. Is that correct?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Do you want me to read that? I read the last
one. Actually, Teal Deer was reading, and I was
Oh,
sort of
that was when I
enjoying not
dropped.
having to read.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do it.
do it.
All right. Yep. So the most exceptional example of this sensual plant body merging emergence is a performance by Australian artist Kat Jones. Her somatic drift, installed at the University of South Australia, Adelaide, was an immersive and interactive work whereby the patient is invited into a black tent to experience a sexuate. And plant species becoming. The patient lies on a flat black bed and sees a full body-length screen above the bed. There, using a combination of sleight of hand and sensory stimulus, Kat Jones plays with our perceptions of gender identity and species identities, using haptic touch on arms and legs, using sound via headphones and real apparatus such as a branch, and using the images of pre-recorded and live in the video screen above, Jones alters who we think we are. The patients begin slowly to perceive themselves as being the opposite sex and then another species. This shift in thinking is temporary, of course, and is directly related to the disruption of our haptic, oral, and olfactory senses.
Well, actually, that's sort of an interesting art piece. What the hell is it doing in here?
I don't know, but this is feminists like to do this whole becoming thing. It's such a weird concept. It's not something I fully understand because it just seems to change from author to author, but it's just this idea that doing something makes you become something else. Like that seems to all it really is.
Well, actually, no. I think I know what she's doing because it's a takeoff of sensory perception research. I don't know if this particular, she might not actually be. She probably is a feminist. All right, never mind. But it's because they've actually done like research into this. So this is probably artwork that's based on that, on the idea of changing your perception of self through haptic and visual stimulus. And it's more into like neuroplasticity and trying to repair damage that's been done, brain damage or whatever else. But there is a legitimate branch of study into this, into understanding identity and understanding the self by creating. The one that I remember that was created was this sort of video feedback where they would try to make you think that you were the person on the video by, for example, if you were watching it and somebody would come with a hand in the video and touch the person in the video, and then they would replicate that with you in the real world. And it was intended to study like the bases of identity and like our understanding of our body identity. So that was legitimate, and this sounds like it's an art piece based on that, which I would find interesting, because of like the implications about how we perceive our body and how we perceive our identity and how that can shift and change. Like I'm interested in that because I'm interested in identity and neuroplasticity. I don't know if this particular artist is a feminist. I'm trying to look her up. Doesn't seem to say much. It says art and science. So that's actually, I'm not surprised that it's an art and science thing because it does sound like it's informed by science. Let me see if I can see feminist in her. Nope, there's nothing in her about that says feminism. So she might just be an artist who's interested in this branch of science and wants to explore it. The fact that she's in this, what I don't understand is why is she in this? What does this have to do? What does this have to do with this article? And furthermore, what does this have to do with ethics in the environment? What does any of this have to do with ethics in the environment? Like what is the ethical?
Changes how you perceive yourself, so maybe you can convince people to perceive themselves as plants and thus understand the plant so they stop raping the plant. Maybe.
That doesn't fucking make any sense.
No, but I would guess that that's maybe where they're going with it.
Yeah, that's what their process is. I mean, they say citing an art piece would be strange if it wasn't for the fact that this is kind of a social science woo article or piece to begin with.
I would rather they cited the actual research that was based on.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And they're probably more appropriate. Water lily centric would be a scientific statement on the state of the water lily with all kinds of graphs and data and information on how you can help preserve the water lily, if indeed the water lily does need to be preserved and isn't an invasive species that's a problem and actually choking out other life. Like, that's all I have to say left. That's it.
We dropped again for a second, but we're back.
How much did you lose my?
No, we only lost a few seconds. Part of your rant, yeah, but you reiterated yourself towards the end, so they didn't miss the main point. The main thrust of your argument.
Luckily, I repeat myself a lot, so you don't have to listen to me all the time. Okay, let's.
All right.
Shall we
continue?
Yeah.
All right. So, did you finish that one paragraph?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What makes artworks or art experiences, such as Cat Jones's somatic drift, important is the capacity to experience as a community, large or small, a shift in thinking. To subvert old habits, to show audiences the potential for change, is the key to new philosophical thinking surrounding vegetal life. The concept of community focuses on the communication, growing patterns, and rhythmic being of the water lily as a case study for how we can learn from vegetal life. What?
Vegetal. Just keep saying vegetal.
Vegetal. I'm not sure if I'm saying
vegetal.
Right. I never had to say this that much.
How are you supposed to say that, Teal'dir? Do you know?
I would just go with vegetal.
All right.
Because it's vegetable.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Vegetal. God. All right. I have nothing to say to this.
Old habits. The subverting old habits. I don't get it. Well, I'm getting this. I was thinking when I was listening to this, I noticed that a lot of feminist writings, they tend to and I'm doing this trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, at least in terms of what they want, because they're trying to like change society. And there seems to be a lot of returning to trying to get everyone to experience life as a community, as being a part of a whole, as joining the hive, and basically not falling out of line.
Did Brian just drop again?
What, you guys can't hear me?
Yep. He's still here, it's just his microphone is gone.
I think that the whole thing just dropped again.
Hello?
Okay, you just dropped, like, you were launching into something and then you just completely dropped.
Oh, well, that's fucking crazy. I don't know what it is. It's not me. It's not my internet anyway. I don't know what it is. But, well, what I was saying is basically like, I've noticed that what feminists seem to like point towards when they write these papers is trying to make society one that is more like a hive, like they work together, like no one gets out of line. And I think that it's because of women's desire to live in a world that is safe for them, and one way to get there is to make sure that everyone's behaving the same way so that it keeps them safe. Like it's like a product of being afraid of everything almost, and being so risk averse is to essentially try to re-engineer society so that they're always taken care of and safe, and you know what I'm saying? And that's what I see in a lot of these papers. It always comes back to the same goals, and they believe the patriarchy is like inherently unsafe for them. And I think that's why they rebel against it. And that's one of many reasons, obviously, but that's just something I've noticed.
How do they rebel against it? Like, seriously, how are they rebelling against the patriarchy aside from saying it hurts us
in their own
this
heads.
amorphous thing. This amorphous thing, like, are they building something to oppose?
Well, they're subverting all of the old habits. That's what they talk about, like constantly trying to subvert how things are done and how people see things now.
But they're not subverting a damn thing. Like,
Well,
appealing to men, how is that subverting, making women out to be victims of shit and appealing to men to use their power to save them? How is that subverting a damn thing? It's like the fucking Mary Sue. This feminist paper, this feminist online, all of the people who own it, all the people who take a wage from it are men. It's like, this is the story of feminism. Yeah. Everybody who does anything it's all about reducing women down to victims to appeal to men to use power. It's not, how is that subverting anything? Okay, all right, sorry. Yeah, I know they say that they're subverting stuff, but it seems to be like a really superficial. It's basically someone just asserting something. It's not actually follow through. There's no action to it. Mm-hmm. There's not even any thought. Like, where's the feminist thought that changes stuff? Like, is this going to change anything?
I think the idea is if everyone perceive themselves as plants or know what it was to be a plant, then they would have this becoming event, and then if everyone went through that experience, it would result in a forever change in how they perceived the world for the better.
So if everybody incorporated the water lily's feminist or feminine immobility, somehow we would become better people. That's what it is.
Probably that's like step one of like a 10,000 step program to make the world the utopia that they know they can make it.
Okay, so in order for me to become a better person, I need to go to a swimming pool, stand in the shallow end, stand in the sunlight, bring a plant with me, and just wring it to death. I can do that. Then I will understand what it's like to be a water lily, and I will be a better person.
I know, be sure to absorb. Yeah, be sure to absorb that plant's nutrients as you wring it to death.
Let's be honest here. This isn't really about the water lily, is it? It isn't.
No, never was.
And Monica, it's not about the water lily. What you're essentially, the entire thesis of what you're saying is that men should become more like women, and that will make them better.
Yeah.
Or society should respect women more, or women's ways of knowing more, and that will make society better. Which is exactly what feminism was originally conceived of by Charles Fourier. Society benefits women, and society is morally better. And if society benefited women by somehow respecting the immobility that society forces on women, if patriarchy respected the immobility that patriarchy forces on women, patriarchy would be better. That's it. Like, if the water lily is a distraction. If they actually gave a shit about water lilies, they'd be talking about the ecological niche that they occupy and how to preserve the water lily. This has nothing to do with that. This is all about another way of saying women good, men bad. Femininity good, masculinity bad. Yo, you have to measure your masculinity by how well it serves women, but also simultaneously you have to become feminine. You have to become the measuring tool and the thing that it measures, and your brain can't explode in the process. And you can't say that's illogical because that's phallocentric thinking. Okay, I'm done. Right.
Shall we? Do you want to keep going?
Do plants even know they're plants? Says Terrell070. Probably not. I literally don't think that animals, you might have an argument for dogs and cats having a theory of mind, or even primates to a limited extent.
Primates, dolphins, whales, they have some degree of self-awareness. These things like pass the mirror test and things like that.
Yeah, so they have some degree of self-awareness. Cats and dogs have been tested to have some kind of a theory of mind, which is probably why they're our fellow travelers, because we sort of understand each other a bit more than we understand other animals, including our closest relatives. But plants, no, I don't think plants know that they're plants. I don't think plants know that humans are humans. I don't know. Maybe there's like a maybe if you appeal to spiritualism or animism, maybe there's a spiritual awareness in a plant. But then why would it know it's a plant? A plant is a human concept. A plant, the word plant, doesn't actually apply to anything in reality. It's just a category to which we put physical manifestations. Like that. I mean, when you say plant, are you referring to a specific plant? No, you have to give contextual cues to even refer to a specific plant. Plant is an abstract category. It's a symbol for something that we've created as human beings. So it's really unlikely that plant understands that it's plant. Plant probably just, if it feels anything, it just is enjoying the sunlight and driving its enemies before it and hearing the lamentations of their stamen. Okay.
I enjoyed that far more than I should have.
Okay, so let's another paragraph.
I read the last one. I can read another one though. I mean, the last one was kind of short.
Oh God! All right, do you want to go through like the guy said that he thought it would be hilarious if we just looked at the references.
References? Or I'll skip.
Yeah, let's just skip because
there's so many of them. Jesus Christ! Maybe that's why. You know what? It's possible that when these papers get written, there's like requirements. You know, like prerequisites to a passing paper, and often there's a minimum number of references required to consider this a complete paper. So maybe that's why that art piece got thrown in there. Maybe they needed more references to check those boxes, as it were. All right. So references.
I feel like we're spoiling someone's fun. Like someone's like sitting here giggling as they write this shit. Like, I'm gonna fluff up my freaking CV, the curricula vitae, with just nonsense, and I don't even have to make it make sense. I just have to open up my word processing program, get high, and just write whatever comes to mind. That's it. And then I got another entry. I got another paycheck.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be ruining their fun though, because if we're responding to it, like in as much seriousness as we can kind of extract, and they knew about it, they'd probably be laughing their ass off that we were, that people actually kind of like saw through it, I guess, or at least attempted to like make sense of it, while the people who passed this person and gave them their accreditations actually thought it was a serious peer-reviewed work that deserves to be printed and is worthy of documentation. So I'm pretty sure their life is great anyways.
I'm still thinking that beaver study or whatever, the
beaver study.
I still don't think I'm still not convinced that was not a joke.
Yeah. Could be a
I know that they probably put it forward as, presented it as, oh yeah, this is a serious study into beaver human interactions. But I think it was a joke. I think the guy or the woman or whatever, however she or he or it identifies, I think it was
a trans person, right? It was a trans
person.
I
think she or he was laughing her ass off, or his ass off, as they wrote that shit.
Speaking of, I heard the YouTube shooter might have been a trans person too.
Trans?
Yeah.
You mean like trans man?
Yes, like a man who transitioned to a woman, I think.
I have not heard that.
I heard that, but I don't know.
I think that might be a narrative out so they can still blame men for it because they can't accept that they've done this.
Perhaps. And I mean, again, it's just, there was a lot of shit going around. So, I'm not making a definitive statement because everybody was making assumptions, like that it was relational, that it was, she did it because she's vegan, that she did it because she's left-wing, that she did it because of YouTube, which appears to be the theory that makes the most sense, that she was trans, that she was queer, that she was both of those things, that whatever, All I know is she became She went from someone who really wanted to be a YouTube sensation to actually being a sensation, and now everyone sees her videos. that's what I see.
Now she's dead.
Yeah, but she's famous, and that's what matters.
Shouldn't have suicided. You should have stayed alive. Then you'd have been a YouTube sensation.
But in jail.
Still,
yeah, but
what is it with YouTube?
I think they have an internet in prison.
What is it with YouTube people like killing people? I heard that the domestic came from witnesses, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's been confirmed by the police, though.
I don't know. That's the when I read the, I did a little bit of a reading of it when I was doing the news show, but at that point it had just happened, so there was a lot of hearsay and rumor about, and speculation. But in the report I read, which was from CNN, because I had to pick something, and I really couldn't trust anything that I was getting. They said that there were witnesses who claimed that this was relational, like there was a boyfriend that she was trying to get to. But I don't know, because her videos, she was like strongly criticizing YouTube, and she claimed that it was a dictatorship and that it was trying to take down freedom of speech because of her politics. Her vegan leftist politics?
Yeah, this could go in a lot of very bad ways. Like, in some ways, I can see this being used to, like, attack people like us who are like, yeah, free speech is a good thing. Be like, oh, look, inevitable speech people makes violence. And
well, yeah, they were saying that, because she was advocating free speech, she must be alt-right or connected to it. Because only the alt-right cares about freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Those people. We're alt-right now, right? Did you know that?
Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
It's gonna be spun into something fucking horrendous as a means of blaming, I would imagine, just men and the right somehow.
Oh,
It will be turned into that.
Oh, yeah. Also, note that she managed to pull off a shooting in one of the states in the country that has the strictest gun laws. California has some of the strictest gun laws in the entire country, but the gun narrative must continue.
More gun laws would have stopped that.
Yeah, we just needed another one. Just one more. Did her pistol, I think it was a pistol that she used too. So it must be one of them, those assault pistols.
Yeah, we just need
high capacity
less
assault
people
pistols
around her carrying guns. That would have meant that she wouldn't have been able to shoot people.
There you go.
If you look at the areas, if you look at the places where these have happened, almost every single one is in a gun-free zone.
Yeah, what a surprise. People go to shoot people where they can't shoot back. Who'd have thunk it?
Okay. Do you want to do the...
Very off topic.
Yeah, very off topic. Let's finish this, because the thing is that we got to finish this to be finished, right?
Yeah, I know, it's fine. Okay, so we were looking at the references. Hold up. Okay.
I can read one.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Do we want to alternate?
Yeah.
Baki Monica, 2014. Practicing aesthetics among non-human somas in the age of biotech. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Was that supposed to be funny, insightful?
Well,
somas?
Some of the I don't know what that is. Some of the titles might be really ridiculous.
So Karen Barad, When Species Meet. Meh.
Okay.
Okay.
Bastian Michel, Haraway's Lost Cyborg and the Possibilities of Transverbalism. What the hell is transverbalism?
I got an interesting read on soma. The parts of the organism other than the reproductive cells. So
let's do this. I want to maybe let's do this. Let's go practicing aesthetics amongst non-human soma in the age of biotech, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to search Google for that book and see if there is a brief sort of summary of what it's about. It looks like it's another paper.
Okay, then it'll have an abstract.
Okay.
Read the abstract.
God.
Non-human somas.
Just
does she mean cancer cells?
Non-human body.
Yeah.
Soma is just the body as distinct from the mind or the spirit or the soul or something like that. So it's just
Yeah, but
body.
the other meaning is anything that's not the reproductive cells. So
yeah, so the body as distinct from gametes in that case.
okay, all right. So what's the abstract there, Brian?
Accepting non-human somas will have serious ontological and ethical consequences, but such acceptance is inevitable for soma aesthetics. Practically oriented philosophy focusing on the body cannot afford to remain indifferent to current developments in the life sciences and biotechnologies, nor to post-anthropocentric view. I'm back. Sorry.
Okay, so what the hell is going on? I think it's pretty obviously your internet that's fucking up. So it's probably a Comcast thing, eh?
I don't think so, because nothing drops. Like, it doesn't. I mean, yeah, like it could be, but I don't know. Like, everything else seems to be fine. Like the, like I'm looking at my devices. My internet doesn't tell me that it's disconnected. It says everything's cool. So I don't know what it is. I could do a reboot, but I'll have to wait until the show is over. So I can't do anything now.
Okay, well, you know what? We got about we've been working at this for an hour, and I think we've got like how much of an after show? 45 minutes. Sorry, guys. Like we got to move on to the Breaking Badger. We've achieved 45 minutes of dealing with this shit.
Plus the 2 hours of the show itself.
Yeah. So I don't know.
We're really listening to you guys rather than listen to this paper of questionable value. So it doesn't matter too much how far you got in it.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, I think that is the general reason why people are here. Otherwise, we would.
But it's nice to hear it. It's nice to hear it. It's not like
sure.
No, we're only here because you're presenting this, and we don't give a shit about your ideas and conclusions.
We'll listen to any old crap you're shoveling. It doesn't have to be anything good as long as it's your.
Oh, and then Teal Deer sort of cut out. All
no,
right.
I think he just cut out towards the end because of his what is it, the noise gate maybe. I got a question, but while I got you, Teal Deer, you have this echo effect that you do. Do you have like an app for that or something, or is it just a feature of your microphone?
That's just the Line 6 pod farm software that I use. It's the software which comes with the audio interface which I use. It does all my amplifier modeling stuff, and obviously because it's an interface for both microphones and like instruments like guitars and things like that, it's got a load of guitar effects on it, and one of them is a digital delay, so you get that. It's just a guitar delay. I've just got it set really low because normally you'd have it a lot bigger.
Is it an actual board, like a physical one, or is it just like an app on
no,
your
it's
computer?
it's a digital board. I'll just
okay.
I can actually just I will do something quickly.
Link me to it so I can do effects. I want to do effects.
Where how do I find you? There you are.
I sent you
it's just I'll just send you an image of it like that. That's just what it looks like on your desktop. It's just like an image. You can build the boards and put whatever you want on it.
Okay, all right. I already have Voice Meter Banana, which I currently use, but I don't think it has any effects. So, but I'll get this too. Maybe I can do both.
That's the software. I've just sent a link to you.
Got it.
To that piece of software. That's what it is. I don't know whether you can just download and use that software by itself. I think you have to have one of the Line 6 input devices for it to work with. But you might just be able to buy a license for this and use it with any audio interface. I've never tried, honestly, but you can give it a go.
Yeah.
Post it on the Redden Classic.
You actually also, one thing, you don't actually have to buy it. I don't think there is a trial version, because I'm actually using a trial version. But I install it off a CD, and it's a CD I got with the hardware which I bought fucking years ago. But then because I've got an account with Line 6, which are the people that make the software, I have access to that license to download this, but my license isn't for this piece of software, but I can still download the trial of this software, which is what I'm using. So I don't know if you actually have to buy it in order to use it. You might be able to use the trial version like I have here, because the trial version actually has loads of stuff in it, which is really good. It's just like some amp models and effects pedals you won't have access to, but if you're just using it for like audio or just for like voice stuff, you won't need most of it.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, we'll end the stream here. Sorry for the technical crap. I'll try to figure out what it is. If it's something on my end, I'll see what I can do to change it. Otherwise, I guess, yeah, that's it. We'll talk to you guys.